Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Sophia, please confirm that you can hear me clearly and you can see my screen.
Hi, Elizabeth. You're loud and clear.
All right, thank you so much for that. So once again, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to today's masterclass, where we will be discussing with some of the leading women in the tech space about the challenges, the triumphs, and the road ahead for women in tech. So as we all know, this is International Women's Month. So I'm sure a lot of us want to know, what does it look like to be a woman in the tech field? Especially because this is a field which, a lot of people say is a male-dominated field, right? So we'll hear from some experts today. But just before we start the session, I want us to take a moment to invite people we think can benefit from this session in any way. Okay, so invite your colleague, invite your friend, invite your sister, invite your cousin, anyone that you know that is trying to get into the tech space, but doesn't know where to start or how to even go about it. Anyone that you know that is confused, just being a woman and how they can just get into the tech space or navigating getting into the job market. Okay, so let's just make sure that we share the link to this session with everybody and try to get them on the call. Now, I'm going to introduce myself in a bit, as well as our wonderful panelists that we have on this session with us today, but I want to get to know you first. So what I want you to do is to please put your name and where you're joining us from in the chat box. So let's all get to know ourselves. Let's network. I want to see your name and where you're joining us from in the chat box. So I'm looking in the chat right now. Okay, we see Mary Chisholm from Abuja. Glory Adima, Abuja. Kenya, we have Tracy from Nairobi. We also have someone else from Kenya, Alexandra from USA, Basil Christopher from Enugu, Nigeria, Rosaline from the United Kingdom, Mary from Lagos, Olaide from Winnipeg. All right, fantastic. So we have a lot of people from all over the world joining this session today. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, so I am also going to introduce myself, right, in a bit, like I mentioned earlier. But now that we have gotten to know ourselves, I will just go ahead to, start off with introducing the people that are bringing this session to you right now. So who are we at 10 Analytics and how do we do what we do? Now, 10 Analytics is a leading edtech company that is focused on providing specialized training in technology skills and delivering comprehensive data consulting services. Now, with over 4 years of experience, we've spent the last almost 5 years actually building the talents for the technology workforce. And we have been able to help over 2,850 professionals, with no prior experience in tech, transition from the classroom into their first job in tech across the different regions like the UK, the US, Canada, Europe, Africa, and of course, Asia as well. So as an organization, we are committed to making the technology sector more accessible through premium experiential training in data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, agile project management and Scrum Master professional, cybersecurity, and of course, AI engineering. Now we have a wonderful team of instructors from leading global companies like PwC, like Microsoft, McKinsey, Amazon, and Apple. And these instructors bring a wealth of real-world experience and are also dedicated to delivering an engaging and practical learning experience that would ensure that you receive the maximum value from your investment with us, okay, in the future. Right. So if this is your first time joining a 10 Analytics Masterclass, if this is your first time being here, I want you to put a 1 in the chat box. And if this is your second session, you can put a 2 or a 3 or a 5. So I want to know the OGs on this call right now. Okay, Rosalind says 1. Mary says 2. Mary is an OG. Fantastic. Okay, I see a lot of 1s in the chat. So we have a lot of new people. So let's also try to share the link with, Ephraim says 8. Thank you very much for that. Let's also try to share the link with our colleagues, our sisters, anybody that we think could in any way benefit from this session. All right? So now who is this person that has been speaking to you for the past 5 minutes? My name is Elizabeth Nana, and I'm a product manager and a senior agile project manager here at Analytics with half a decade of experience in product and project management. Now, I am a coach for agile teams and I've been able to consistently drive impactful results, right? I've successfully guided over 1,000 individuals with no prior agile experience into making a smooth transition into project management. So if you're on this call and you're looking to go into project management, I'm your girl for that, okay? So like I mentioned earlier, I've trained over 1,000 professionals and, across the various continents. And my experience also spans across multiple sectors, including the health tech, the fintech, and of course, the ed tech space. We have been able to apply my deep knowledge of agile methodologies to help individuals and businesses scale. Now we have some wonderful, wonderful people here with us today on this session that we are going to be discussing with. The first person is Susan Gatura. Now, Susan is a data leader, a mentor, and an advocate that is committed to nurturing the next generation of data professionals in Africa. Susan is the founder of Phoenix KE Analytics, and she leads a thriving data community that is focused on mentorship, on skills development, and also networking. Now, Susan has a finance background, and she also started a self-taught journey, right, into the data space. And now she's a senior analytics specialist at MultiChoice Group, supporting data strategies across 10 continents, over 10 continents, actually. Susan is recognized among Kenya's top 40 under 40 women and 50 inspiring women in tech in Africa for 2023. And Susan's impact extends through Phoenix masterclasses and data awareness drives in schools, helping to foster knowledge sharing and career growth for women. All right. Susan is passionate about diversity and mentorship, and she continues to break barriers and create opportunities in the data space. Hi, Susan. I hope you are here today with us.
I am. Hi.
Hi, it's nice to have you here. Welcome to the session. All right, so I'll move on to our panelists, okay? Our next panelist is Helen Oyemi. Helen is a seasoned cybersecurity professional with over 8 years of experience in financial institutions, telecommunications, and consulting firms in Nigeria and also in the UK. Now, beyond a career, Helen is dedicated to mentoring and inspiring the next generation of cybersecurity professionals, particularly women, all right? It's our work. So Helen aims to empower 10,000 women from underdeveloped backgrounds to enter the cybersecurity industry through personal and volunteer initiatives over the next decade. And as an information security manager in a leading UK fintech company, Helen exemplifies leadership and dedication to fostering growth in the cybersecurity field. Hi, Helen, are you here today?
Yeah, just taking you back to my secondary school days in like 15, 20 years ago. I would say present, ma.
Fantastic. We're happy to have you here on the call, and I'm looking forward to having an insightful discussion with you. All right, so now let's move on to our next panelist. We have Esther. Now, Esther is a data and analytics leader with a strong track record of implementing innovative solutions across various industries. Esther is passionate about empowering underserved communities in Africa, and she's dedicated to leveraging data for transformative impact. Now, our contributions have earned her multiple accolades, including Financial Woman Trailblazer 2024, two-time CDO of the Year, and recognition in CDO Magazine's 40 Under 40 Data Leaders and Data IQ, Top 100 2024. I'm expecting to see a lot of clapping emojis in the chat box because these women are not small. Now, with a keen ability to turn data into actionable insights, Esther continues to push boundaries and inspire the next generation of data professionals. Hi, Esther, are you here with us today?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Wonderful to have you here on the call with us. Now we're moving on to the final panelist for tonight, Dr. Chichi Wallace. And Dr. Chichi is a business, agility leader, systems coach, and international speaker, whose expertise is revolutionizing organizations and inspiring leaders to create environments where innovation thrives. Now, with 2 honorary doctorate degrees from prestigious universities in executive leadership and business strategy, she serves on the board of regents at Cornerstone University, Georgia, USA, where she is leading the initiative to develop the curriculum for the project and product management faculty. Hi, Dr. Chichi. Are you here with us today?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Hi. Apologies, I did not pronounce your last name just in case, so I don't murder it. Do you want to pronounce it again? Afia?
Afia, yes.
Okay, I wanted to be sure. So glad to have you here on the call with us today. Okay, so now what are we going to be doing here today? First, we're going to have a Q&A session, question and answer, where you get to listen to these powerful women in tech share their experiences, right? And next, I'm going to walk you through how to get started immediately if you're also looking to transition into tech. I'll walk you through the in-demand career paths in 2025 and also show you success stories to let you know that if these people could do it, you can do it as well. And finally, I'll be walking you through, our special discount offer to you for the upcoming cohorts. Okay? So please, I want to make sure that you try to stay to the end of the session, right? My colleagues have already been dropping a link to the attendance form in the chat box. So I want you to fill that attendance form because that is how you'll be able to get the recording of this session so you can have a replay of it later, and also the slides that I'm going to be walking us through. Okay, so if you don't fill that attendance form, if we don't have your details, we would not be able to get these materials across to you. So please, once my colleagues drop the attendance form, once again, I want you to go ahead and fill it with your details so that once the session ends, you can have the recording and also the slides and all the resources that I'll be walking us through today. So now I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so we can move right into the Q&A session. All right. I can see I want to know that people are actually excited. I see some people clapping in the chat box, but I want to see some more emojis. Use a rocket, just give us ginger. Let us know that you're actually excited to hear from these wonderful women that I've brought on the call here with us today. Okay, user drop the laughing emoji. I mean, that is very valid. All right, so I can see Dr. Chichi. Dr. Chichi, you're looking very beautiful today.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. So I'm going to start with you, right? So this question is to Dr. Chichi, and I'm going to be asking the rest of our panelists so they can also just give us their background story. So Dr. Chichi, what is your background story and how and why did you get into tech?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question that I'm actually writing a book about myself because honestly, I don't know how I got here. I know it's a journey. But then my background is in law. I am a legal practitioner in Nigeria. And I was great at what I did, right? But I grew up in that family where you just had to be something great, right? You had to be an accountant, an engineer, and all. But I chose a law path because I was a chatty one. But eventually, I found myself doing a lot of businesses. I was just a hustler. I was just doing businesses and all. And then I moved to the US for my master's, my MBA. And it was there I realized that there were so many opportunities, right? After my master's, I went into business consulting. So it was a transition from law to MBA to business consulting, which I started on my own. Then I fell in love with IT when I did a webinar on MVPs, creating MVPs, right? And then someone reached out to me and said, hey, we need you in our organization. We need what you offer, your training, your services to our agile teams. I'm like, okay. That's how I went in there and I fell in love with the IT space, started with cybersecurity teams, learned a lot about cybersecurity, and then it's been there. I just went on to leadership coaching, tech coaching, and my journey has been one that I don't believe that I made, but then it's been mentors guiding me through the way and all the way, and relying on networks of great people, right, that help me chart the path. So I'll tell you more as we go, but I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much for that. So for people on the call, you heard, Dr. Chichi just say she started as a lawyer. Okay, she started as a lawyer and then, she transitioned into business and then just got interested in tech as well. So if you're coming from any sector, from any industry at all, you can actually transition into tech. Okay, you just need to have the drive. My next question is going to be for Susan. Susan, is your camera turned on? Would like to see your beautiful face as well.
I'm trying to. I don't know. Something is wrong with my camera today, but I can speak as I try to figure things out.
All right. Okay. Okay, we can just wait for that. But while you try to figure that out, let me just ask you, what is your background story and why and how did you get into tech? Susan?
All right. So my story is a bit unconventional. So for me, I have a background in finance for both my bachelor's and my master's. So I initially had a job as a customer care representative where I lasted about 8 months because honestly, that job is not for the faint of heart. And that's when I realized that customers are not always right. Whoever said that, it's a lie. Then I went to accountancy. I did a short gig on that. Then I remember when I got the job after that was a finance job. It was labeled as a finance job, but when I got in there, it was a tech job. It had a lot of coding involved. It had a lot of dashboarding involved. And remember, these are skills that I did not have to start with. So it was a really challenging time for me at the time because I was questioning why did I even get this job in the first place, because they knew my skills and I didn't have the skills that they needed for this particular job. But I took on the challenge. I went on to online resources. There was YouTube. That's why I learned a lot of the skills that I have now. I did not take any certification or I did not go back to school to learn tech. So that's why I'm always telling people that self-learning is also a way into this industry. The traditional ways of having to have a degree, it's not as needed right now, especially in the tech field. You can always join a boot camp for 6 months and get your skills. There's so many resources out there like YouTube that you can get your skills from. So that's where I got my skills from. And yeah, here I am now.
All right. Thank you for sharing that with us, Susan. Okay, so the next person I'm going to call is Helen. Hi, Helen. Please share your background story with us and tell us why and how you got into tech.
I think mine's quite different from Susan and Dr. Chichi. Because I studied computer engineering and it's happened by chance. Studied computer engineering happened by chance because all my life where I grew up, it's all about becoming a nurse or becoming a medical doctor. So I felt like medical doctor is for people that, are highly smarter. And then I said, okay, let me be a nurse because I'm a woman. And I chose nursing, but luckily for me, or as fate would have it, I got computer engineering as a course. And in Manuel level, I thought of switching back to medical school. But during my sets, switching to medicine, nursing, or medical lab science wasn't allowed. And then you can just go to other science laboratory course or biochemistry. But I thought within myself, there's no point. If I'm not a nurse or a doctor, then let me just stay back in IT. And I remember talking to my folks at home, like, oh, I think I would study computer engineering, and all they thought was that I would be like a computer engineer that would, fix laptop or fix motherboard at Computer Village in Lagos. And yeah, even myself, I thought that is what I would do, but I didn't even know that IT was a thing. All I needed was just to at least just start something, just have a degree. And I think as time moves on in the university, I realized that I needed to maybe do some extra courses in IT. And so I started like doing training in database, different kind of trainings actually, anything IT training. And when I finished school, when I graduated, um, yeah, because I'm a Nigerian, I studied in Nigeria, and I thought tech, IT is not meant for women anyway. There is no point looking for jobs. Or while you look for a job, you should just learn something else. So I went into fashion designing. I went to a fashion school during my National Youth Service Corps, and I was still trying to apply into tech jobs, and got a lot of regret emails because I remembered I started applying into jobs since I started serving in Abeokuta in Ogun State. And then I just moved to go to Lagos like every other week for interviews, applied for any technical job, any IT job. Think of any IT job that you could think of in 2016. And luckily for me, I got into one. And the one that I got to, which was like 1 month after my NYC, was a graduate security engineering role. And yeah, that is how my career started in security engineering, in security space. So
All right, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I saved the best for last. Hi, Esther. Would you like
Hi,
to share your background with us and, just tell us why and how you got into tech?
Sure. I think my path is probably what they'd call the dream path. I think I was quite privileged because from early on, since I was a child, I knew I would get into technology. And this started when, my dad back in the day, he had a home computer. It was called a Sinclair ZX Spectrum. It was one of the first home PCs that was launched. I think it was 1982, and he had it in the 80s. And I used to see him, use this computer. And the way you had to set it up is that to use it, you had to actually code in the operating system in order to actually use the software. So I'd watch him sit there for like 30, 40 minutes, he'd do some coding, and then all of a sudden something would appear on the screen, which was fascinating to me. And that's really what ignited my interest in tech, and I've been passionate ever since. And that led me, I mean, look, with technology, there's so many different options. There was getting into engineering, into computer science, into IT, and I decided to choose what they call informatics, which is basically a multidisciplinary field where you study how people, technology, information, and business processes come together in order to solve problems and build businesses. That's essentially what I studied. And the other thing that I believe attributed to probably my journey is I got into consulting very early, from the beginning of my work career. And you know what happens in consulting? You have to, take on different roles and do whatever it takes to be able to solve problems for your clients. So whatever role you can think of in tech, I did, like from network engineering to becoming a software engineer, data engineer, data architect, you name it, in the full value chain of data, I have been in one of those roles, which really exposed me to what roles exist, what technology exists, and what solutions is out there. But if I could summarize maybe four things I could say that really attributed to my journey is, one was exposure. Like I mentioned, I was exposed to the technology really early. The second thing is I had the support. I had support from my parents, I had support from my teachers, from my mentors, and that has been a constant thing that's been happening all through my life. And they've inspired me, pushed me, held me accountable, and guided me through this path of my career. The third one is I really am a big believer in investing in continuous learning. So always continue to learn, because if you look at technology and also how fast emerging tech is coming, last year we were talking about, the last few years was Gen AI. Now we're on agentic AI. Like it's changing so fast. You have to be keeping yourself abreast to what's happening. And lastly, I think just being brave enough and taking the courage to take on those roles that might be scary, new, and different. Hence why I mentioned my consulting background. If I didn't go through those different roles, I wouldn't know what I would have wanted to do. So that really helped me. So that's really been my journey.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Esther. For everyone else on the call, if you heard Esther, she just said, be brave enough, to take on roles that scare you. So Esther 2025, okay? Be brave enough to take on roles that scare you. All right, so my next question is going to go to Dr. Chichi. Now, what challenges have you faced as a woman in tech, and how did you overcome these challenges? Dr. Chichi?
Sorry, yeah. I was finding I missed the whole page, find my mute button. So, challenges. I think one of the main challenges I faced, I faced in the tech space is breaking into that male-dominated space. Unlike Esther knew where she was going, like, this is it, right? For me, it was breaking into the space early in my career. I found that I was the only person of either the color, my color, or just the female in the room. And I had to prove myself repeatedly, kind of fight for the seat at the table. I am one, I don't see color. I see everything as the same. So regardless of who you are, where you are from, regardless of the imposter syndrome I feel sometimes, I still will take it. I would do other roles. I would play. I would be the one to reach out. I would be the one to speak up, and I owned my value. I knew what I carried, right? So one of the challenges was just breaking into the male-dominated space, and I did it. Also, it was also fun to see. Well, today is still happening. As of last week, I had an experience of being in a room and just not being spoken to well enough because I'm a female, right? But I am very quick to speak up and take it as a challenge and actually speak up to that person. So another challenge is, another challenge I've faced as a woman is, women feel we often feel pressure to fit into the corporate space sometimes. So I've learned to be in my authentic space, my authentic self. I am myself in my space. If I do not know it, I do not know it. I learn it, right? And I lead with confidence. One thing I know for sure is giving clarity to teams and leaders that executives that I coach, is giving clarity and showing your resilience in your stance. So those are the two main challenges that I can think of right now. If it comes up, I will share more, but breaking into that male-dominated space was one challenge, and being my authentic self. I wasn't before, but I learned to be in my skin, in my voice, in my accent, and then just lead with confidence and clarity in every day, really. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Chichi. And there was something she said that sort of like just made me think about something that I want, I'm very curious about. And I also want the other people listening to, get clarity on this, right? So I would direct this question to Susan, right? So, many women, we struggle with self-doubt, Okay, I mean, a lot of us in our day-to-day lives, in tech, in our corporate jobs. Now, Susan, seeing as you're so inspiring, right? Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And then how did you combat it? You're muted if you're speaking. Your mic is still muted.
Yes, I was muted. Yes, of course, I've faced imposter syndrome, and I still do. I feel like it's a work in progress. But for me, I feel like at this point now, in the years that I've been in my career, I feel like I'm tired of hearing about imposter syndrome like it's some personal failing that women in tech just have to overcome. So let's be real. Why do we feel like imposters in the first place? It's not because we lack the skills, the talent, or the intelligence. It's because we walk into spaces that weren't originally designed for people like us. And instead of questioning those spaces, we question ourselves. So most back in the day, I used to think of maybe I need one more certification. Maybe if I speak up in a meeting, I need to have 100% of the facts. Or someone else can throw out an idea with zero data and still get praised. Then I realized that some of the most confident people in these rooms are guessing. They're making it up as they go. And yet they never question if they belong. So why should I? So now there's always this little voice of doubt that's always creeping in. I remind myself confidence isn't a prerequisite for success. It's a result of showing up, doing the work, and seeing the impact. I don't wait to feel ready because the truth is, no one ever does. The difference is that some people just do it afraid. And if I ever forget why I belong, I don't look at my certifications or my experience. I look at the people I've helped with Phoenix K Analytics. I look at the projects I've built and also the doors that I've opened for others. That's the real proof of the impact that I'm making. So I feel like it's important for us to stop putting the burden on women to overcome imposter syndrome and start asking better questions like how can we redesign workplaces so that no one feels like an outsider in the first place, right? So let's flip that script.
Yeah,
Then now,
I would
yeah.
like to respond to that real quick, Susan, right? So the imposter syndrome is not known to women. I think every single person passes through that, even the leaders, I think I read an article about a CEO who was just winging it, right? Nobody knows everything. And in fact, God forbid we know everything because we'll stop learning, right? But that imposter syndrome, I don't see it as a women thing. I see it as an everybody thing. And it's more so stepping into it, even when you know, right? You feel like you don't know. But you should be confident and enough in yourself, knowing that you know enough and you're ready to say, hey, I don't know it right now, but I can get that information for you another time, right? So I think for me, my confidence pushes that syndrome away, and I just step above it, really, because everybody feels it, not a woman thing, certainly.
Yeah, I get that, but this is a very common question in women in tech related events.
Okay.
That's my problem with it, yeah.
Okay.
All right, that was I loved the little contributions here and there. Thank you so much for that. So my next question would go to Esther. Now, Esther, women are underrepresented, in leadership roles, in data, and also in tech. Now, what strategies can help women break into leadership positions?
That's a very good question. And just to go back again, just to the point around the imposter syndrome and also just the challenges that we face. I look forward to the day where we never get asked that question again, right? Because men don't get asked that question. However, the reality is we live in a world where the reality is this world, or especially in STEM, it was not designed for us. And I think the first thing we need to understand as women is it's to understand what those challenges are. I'm a big believer that knowledge is power. And the first thing we need to know is that, yes, it is challenging. It's the reality. That's what is happening. It is male dominated. You have, corporate offices that are not designed for us. I always use the example of when I first had my son and I got back to work from maternity leave, and I wanted to find a safe space, a hygienic place where I can express milk. And at the time, I was working for a company where there was a gym, there were 2 bars, there was so many other facilities, but there was no room for women to express. And that for me was a huge, I think for me, a turning point for me. Because one, I only realized that was an issue until it happened to me as a mother, right? Secondly, it made me realize that that environment was really not designed for people like me and for mothers. And I had to stand up for myself and also for the other women that came forward. And I basically went to the CEO and I said to him, look, this is a situation. He was shocked. He said, what? We don't have a room? And I said, yeah, but honestly, it wasn't his fault. It was really because he was also ignorant to the fact that that was a facility that we needed. And he said he would do something about it, but it didn't get done. So one day I got frustrated. I went to the facilities manager and I said, do we have a room with 4 walls? He said, yes. Can you put a lock on the door? Yes. Can you put a chair in? Yes. Can you get a fridge? Yes. And within an hour, I promise you, there was a room. So my point is, I think the strategy is one, understanding the challenges. You cannot solve for something you don't understand. Then I think the other thing is we really need to continue to empower or support women-led initiatives. Organizations like what Tenalytics is doing and, Girl Code, Girl Hype, all of these great organizations that are focusing on really empowering women and girls with critical tech skills is important. And then furthermore, I think in organizations, we need allies. And allyship does not happen just from women. We need the men and the leaders to also be part of this conversation and be part of this, I could say, this drive to try and really empower women. We can't just be looking at women to empower women. It's because we live in a world where the power is unequal. So we need the people with the power and the influence to give the power and the influence. I might say something very controversial, but I often hear, women say, but what is that woman doing? She's a leader in her organization. How is she helping the other women who are coming behind her? And I often think that's a very unfair question because she's also trying to also just survive in her role or trying to get ahead. And yet there's an expectation that she must also bring other people with her. I think if she can, great. But let's not just look at the women. Let's look at everybody. Let's look at government. Let's look at the men. Let's look at society. What are we doing as a whole to really solve this problem? I think the other thing is also just to create gender-based responsive policies in our organizations, from government, things like, I just saw that in Zambia, if I'm not wrong, they've instituted, is it menstrual leave and things like that, things that really cater to and representing women in society. And then also just, I think, I really like what Dr. Chichi said, is really we need to just come as we are, or as authentic as we are. There's a study that shows that if you have about a 50% ratio of women in your leadership team, your organization's performance can improve by up to 40%. So if that's not motivation enough for organizations and leaders to bring women into their organizations, I don't know what is, right? Women can help you grow your businesses. So there is also that motivation from a monetary and productivity perspective. And yeah, I think I can go on and on, but I'll maybe perhaps give it to other people to bring in their views.
All right, thank you so much, Esther. Now, that was a very interesting question. I also want to hear from everyone. What is your take, right? How do you, what strategies do you think can help, women to break into leadership positions? Now, I want Helen to go next.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I mean, great points by everyone. And I would like to circle back to the talk around imposter syndrome. And I think I agree with everyone's view. It's a topic that should be maybe in a way scrapped or something. But we really can't scrap it anyway, because for the upcoming women that still feels that imposter syndrome is a thing, I think we need to always address it in every women events like this, right? Because some of us already understands that imposter syndrome is for everyone, both men and both male and female, and not just for the female alone. But some people might still be thinking that it's mostly for female. So I think it's a question that would always come up in every event, really. And it's not because I'm advocating for that particular question, but everyone is at different stage, in life, and we need to keep addressing this. I mean, if we stop addressing it, what do we tell the Gen Zs or, the upcoming women in tech, right? So we need to keep addressing it, but from a place of strength, letting them know that it is not just about women, even the men, even my manager, who is a man, also has like an imposter syndrome. And in terms of how can you get yourself to leadership, and I think one key thing that has worked for me, or yes, it's advocating for yourself, right? Sometimes it's just easier said than done. Advocate for yourself might not work in an environment where the culture is not even allowed at all. And you might be lucky to have that in an environment where the culture is allowed. And sometimes we don't just wait for the normal, promotion routine to happen to you before you ask for what you deserve, right? And if you think that, oh, I deserve a promotion, you feel that you need a promotion or you need to be in the leadership space, you don't need to wait for your HR to announce that. I think sometimes you need to, talk to your manager or just ask. And I think one thing, I'll give you an example about advocating for yourself that has not worked for me in the past and has also worked for me in the past as well. And I think when I was still working with a company in Nigeria, I used to be like a team lead, and then I had like a female manager at some point. And somehow my manager changed to a male manager. And 2 weeks in, I got a new manager to manage the team I've been leading, who is a guy. And the man just brought in a man to lead us. And I felt bad. I was going to just be like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I was even thinking I was going to lead a team anyway. I mean, leading technical guys, there's no point. Let this guy do it. But I was pained inside because I knew that I've given in a lot of hard work, putting in my efforts to do this. And my husband told me something. Just question this man. Ask him why did he just, remove you from being a team lead to a team member. Something must have triggered it. And I was scared because it's a African culture, Nigerian culture, and I'm like, okay, worst case, I'm going to lose my job, no worries. And I spoke to him and I said, what happened? Why did you remove me from team lead meetings? And he said something that, oh, I thought you were good at documentation, presentation, and I feel you should be my secretary. I felt that's like slap, I've always had flair for technical subjects, I mean, in the cybersecurity space, but because I volunteered to write presentation topics and write reports at the end of the month and submit to you, gather report from every other team within the cybersecurity unit does not make me your secretary, does not make you, I mean me your secretary. But I didn't say that. I was like, oh, that's good, but no, I still want to lead this team. And then I think he apologized and he said sorry. But I knew that the relationship between myself and that my boss wasn't like, smooth again. Then I needed to look out for a new job and I left. I think that didn't really work well, but I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad because at least I asked, right? If I didn't ask, then I think I might become like a disgruntled employee in the organization. And moving to a new culture, a new environment, I've spent about 3 years in this position, but one thing I think I did was to understand the roadmap to leadership with my organization right from the beginning. Can you tell me your career paths? What do I need to do to become a senior? What do I need to do to become a manager? Just let me know. And then I know that, okay, there are tasks that I need to work on, and how many years do I need to, just understand the criteria to become that. And so I had that, and I was working towards that. But sometimes it's not just about doing the right thing, doing your work, and you can't really control what would happen in the company. And I think last year there are a lot of economic situation changes, layoffs, this and that. But then I thought within myself that in the middle of this chaotic, I'm grateful that I get to retain my job and I didn't get um laid off. However, I wouldn't just take that as a victory alone. I think I need to, what do I want for my career? Where do I see myself in another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? I'm not even saying where do I see myself in 10 years. I'm saying the 2 years time, 3 years time. And that is why sometimes I like to talk to my manager and plan with them. What do you have for me? What do I need to do to become this? And from there, I know that I have tasks ahead of me to work on. And one thing my manager who left the company told me is if you really want to grow in your career, then you have to get yourself in an uncomfortable situation. When you run away from uncomfortable situation or uncomfortable discussion, then growth is something that you might not quickly achieve in your career. It does not have to be comfortable every time, when you need to ask. When you feel you deserve it, then you ask, not like ask in a forceful way, but ask in a more mature way. And you're not just asking, but you have evidences to back up what you're asking. So I know I've worked for 3 years, have achieved this and this and that. Then I asked them, I need a change of role. I need a promotion to an information security manager, and I need my salary to be reviewed. And I didn't just demand that. I backed it up with lots of evidences. I've done this. I've been able to achieve this and this and this, move this from this to this. And it was, if you ask me, I think that was the hardest thing I've had to do in my career. Even the one I did in Nigeria then wasn't like hard. Asking them in a difficult situation was the hardest and that's what I had to do in my career. And I was saying it, my voice was shaking, presenting to head of HR, my manager and everyone. And I thought maybe they would say just, but I think I know they will not lay you off right anyway. They won't sack you because of that. Worst case, they will say no, and then they will feel you're a bad person, maybe not. And one thing I had is consider it done, we would review it. And 2 weeks after, I got a new letter, promotion, increment, and everything. And I asked myself, if I had not asked 2 weeks ago, then I think they would just feel like Helen is fine. She's comfortable with where she is. So sometimes I think you need to advocate for yourself, but you don't just advocate on empty threats, right? Like I said, you have to do the hard work. You have to put in the work. You have to have like evidence to back this up. I think that is one important thing that you need to do. And one thing I've also learned or that I'm currently doing is, if you don't have the opportunity to probably maybe like lead a team and you feel that, because sometimes if you want to get a new job somewhere else and you're saying you want to become head of security, head of this, head of that, they might ask you, have you led a team before? Team of have you led like a team of 4 or 5 or 6 or 10? And if you realize that you've only led like a team of 2, then they might not want to give you that opportunity. But what you can do outside that is, can you put yourself out there, apply for speaking opportunities, volunteer for a leadership role that is not even within your organization. Something like we are doing right now is one career path for me. Like, okay, I think I need to talk more, impact people more. And that way, I know that if I'm able to speak to a people of 100 and add something to their life, right? Or 100 there, 50 there, 200 there in a public setting, a physical environment, all those kind of things would add up to maybe probably improve the communication skill or leadership skills. And in future, if you think your current organization is not able to provide you the kind of leadership you want, and you apply for any role, if they ask you, have you led a team of 20 before? And you've only led a team of 2, you could say, yes, I've led a team of 4 in an organization. However, outside 9 to 5, I've been able to do this in parts, number of amounts of women, done this and this. And they know that, okay, it's not just beyond, it shows how passionate or how serious you are about getting this leadership position. And that could actually, help you get into, leadership. And another thing would be, you should be around women, but I think Esther said something and I agree with that. That someone is in the management position does not mean that the person would have time to drag the other women along, because yeah, that person is also facing a battle, or trying to achieve something within that time frame. And but yeah, if you are within women association in leadership, I think that could also help you get into the leadership position in future. But one thing is, not every organization would give you what you want, and sometimes you need to go out there and look out for it, right? It could be that maybe you're working in a bank in a bank or in an institution that has like 50,000 employees, and you know that for you to get to a CISO level or to a particular level, you need to climb different ladders. You might as well look at maybe a startup that has just 100 employees, and the career path chain is not as long as an organization with 50,000 employees. You might want to take a step back and be like, maybe I need to just go to a small startup, become a leader here, and then after 2 or 3 or 4 years, and I might now look into a big organization. So it's strategy sometimes. So it's not like a true or false answer, 1 and 0s. There are gray areas around that, but those are tips that could get you into leadership position. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Helen. That was very, very, that was very extensive. Okay, now there are 2 things that you said, and also, just the other women on the call that have stuck with me. And I want to also reemphasize it for, people that are listening to us right now. The first thing is that your imposter syndrome is not unique to you. So a lot of women think, you're scared, you don't like to speak in public, or you're just, you have self-doubt in your role, and you think you're the only one going through that. But I want to put it to you that, just like Chichi said, it's not just women, right? It's everybody. Everybody at some point in their life have had to do something. Even the powerful people that we know, Michelle Obama, right? Maya Angelou, Emma Watson, the activist and actress, she spoke about, always feeling like a fraud. So I'm just trying to let everyone know that even Albert and Einstein, that we all know, right? Everybody at some point in their life, have felt or faced or, struggled with imposter syndrome. Now, what matters is how you overcome it, right? How you take active steps into trying to, just combat it and make sure that you're putting yourself constantly in uncomfortable spaces so that you can grow. And then the next point was when you said negotiate for yourself, but don't just negotiate, don't just come with your empty hands to negotiate. Make sure that you can, put in the work and, prove yourself and say, this is what I deserve. I know my worth based off of the work that I've been doing for the past 3 years, for the past 5 years. This is what I deserve, and I want to get it. I mean, not forcefully. I'm hitting my table right now, but, don't hit your table, but just know your worth and, put in the work. So thank you so much for that. Now, I feel like because that was very extensive, it has also covered what the other women, were saying on the call. So let's just move on to the next question.
Wait, one moment. I don't know if Helen, that was great. Thank you so much for that. But there's one thing also, like, as you advocate for yourself, sorry, I moved my script, let me move it here. As you advocate for yourself, your visibility, your personal branding matters, right? If you look into maybe, I think all of us here, I think I just connected with Esther. I had to look into her profile as well. It comes with you making your work visible. You might think that what you have is not enough, but trust me, the knowledge you have is enough. Make it visible, create a brand around yourself. Do what you can. You have enough knowledge to get yourself out there, right? So just wanted to add that visibility and personal branding is a lot of impact to get you out there to create a name and expertise around what you do.
All right, thank you for adding that, Dr. Chichi. So visibility, personal branding, just speaks to your social media presence. So what is your online presence like? I was listening to one other woman in tech, speak yesterday, and she said, what do people see when they search your name, on Google? If they go on Google right now and they search your name, what do they see? Do they just see you dragging Big Brother Naija housemates, or what do they see? Do they see you putting out your work? Putting your work out there for everybody to see. So I definitely agree with you, Dr. Chichi. Thank you so much for that addition. So in order not to keep everyone on this call for much longer than they have to be, we'll just move on right on to the next question. Now, this question is for Susan because Dr. Chichi, I feel like you already answered this question initially, you know, talking about the gender bias or even like just the color of your skin, the bias that you face. So to Susan, have you ever faced gender bias in your career? And how did you navigate it? And what systemic changes do you think are needed? Susan, you're muted.
And the way I've talked. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was saying, as I was saying, yes, of course, I've faced gender bias. It's baked into everyday interactions. It's being talked over in meetings. It's suggesting an idea, getting ignored, then watching a man say the exact same thing, and suddenly it's a brilliant idea. It's having your competence questioned more than your male colleagues. But what I did is I stopped making it my job to navigate bias, because navigating sounds like tiptoeing around a problem that shouldn't exist in the first place. So instead, now I call it out. I address it head on. If someone interrupts me, I don't shrink. I say I wasn't finished speaking. If my idea is ignored, I reintroduce it and attach my name to it. If my expertise is questioned unfairly, I ask, would you have asked my colleague the same thing? So, what systemic changes do we need? I feel like bias training isn't enough, accountability is. Companies love to have workshops on diversity, and right now it's more of a PR thing. But if someone consistently overlooks women, interrupts them, or questions their expertise unfairly, there should be real interventions, not just be more aware email or just something of the sort. And then the other thing is we need to fix the pipeline and also the promotion process. It's not just about hiring more women, it's about making sure they actually advance. Who's being groomed for leadership? Who's getting high visibility projects? You know, there's actually some statistics I was reading where men are normally hired based off potential, but women are hired based off experience. And there's also this thing where diversity is in hiring, inclusion is in retention, and promotion is in equity. Yes, fine, you will hire these women. Then what? Are you going to give them opportunities to grow, to advance, to take on these leadership opportunities, not just hiring them for you to look good and then leaving it at that? And then also another thing I'd say is normalize calling out bias in real time. We shouldn't have to wait until senior leaders challenge unfair treatment. We need to call it out when it happens, at that particular time when it happens. It's really important to stand up for yourself and just know that you have a lot to bring to the table. And sometimes a lot of us tend to be so grateful for the opportunities that we have that we tend to overlook a lot of things like toxic cultures, bad managers. So I think it's about time we also change that mindset too. As much as you're lucky to have this job is also lucky to have me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so, so much for that. As much as you're lucky to have this job is also lucky to have you. Fantastic. So my next question would be to Dr. Chichi. What trends or emerging opportunities should women be paying attention to in data and also in tech, just tech in general? What trends and emerging opportunities do you think these women should be looking out for and paying attention to? You're muted.
Yes. So trends and opportunities, I've delved into certain things, and I'm one that continuous learning is very important for me. So last year I started looking into, maybe 2 years ago, AI, but guess what? I shied away from it. I'm like, not for me. But you know what? There are opportunities there, right? And I want to encourage people to look into AI. AI ethics is a big deal for me because AI can be abused. So AI and maybe data ethics, people in data will probably speak more to that. I think that's shaping the industry, and women, of course, can be involved in ethical AI development to prevent biases, and ensure there's some inclusivity in AI. Product and business agility is not going anywhere. I'm still going to be an advocate for that, even though the agile space seems to be struggling right now. But then there is a future of adaptability. In every space we are adapting to something. There's change management going on. We have to adapt to things that happen in our environment. And then we can master the art of agile leadership, right? Digital transformation, and that will drive that will really drive industry, the shift in our industry. I also, cybersecurity is a big deal as well. I said, I work with cybersecurity teams, and I see Helen is a cybersecurity professional, right? So that's an area that you might want to go into. It is a high growth field, and you can, lead governance, risk, and compliance in there as well. There are different paths you can enter. But I would say if there's any emerging trends I'm looking at, it's AI, AI ethics, product and business agility, and cybersecurity. Those are things that are trending or emerging in today's tech space.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Chichi. So if you're on this call and you're also looking to go into cybersecurity, then you're in luck. You're in luck, you're in the right place, okay? So the next question I have is for Esther. Now, Esther, if you could go back in time to change something about your career, what would you change?
Nothing.
Oh yeah, she said she's a dream.
Yeah.
Was it? Yes.
The dream.
That's
No,
awesome.
I just had a dream. No, to be honest, I just a personal principle for me is I don't want to live with regrets. The only thing I could probably say I'd go back to change is asking for more money during the discussions for promotions and whatnot. And I think the other thing that, and I'll just go back to the question I think you had asked Susan about when you're facing those moments, those challenges, gender biases, sometimes we forget that we also have gender bias, right? I think we tend to look at it from an external perspective and also not look at it from our perspective. We also have it, we carry it. We've been raised in environments where we've been conditioned in that sort of way. So I think I implore people to surround themselves with who I'd call accountability partners, mentors, or sort of like I call my people my board of directors, people who are able to tell you know what, Esther, in that particular situation, you were wrong. You're the one who was biased, because how you don't know what you don't know. And when you have, that's why it's called unconscious bias, right? It's not conscious. So I think it's important that you do surround yourself with that. So I think back to your question about what I'd change about my career is to have more of those accountability partners, is to have more being able to, again, to be brave enough to ask them and for criticism, right? I would like to get criticism so I can be better, right? So I think that is something that I'll definitely change, but it's not too late. I'm trying to get that going. And then just quickly, I just wanted to add to the previous question around emerging opportunities. I think it's important that as there's so much in terms of information and access to finance used to be a huge blocker, especially for women who are trying to build businesses. But now we have better financial inclusion using mobile first financial platforms. We now have, situations where we have access from a global access perspective, remote working, freelancing. We're no longer, restricted to this traditional way of working. I think we should take advantage of that. The other thing is that there's also open source innovations which we can leverage. We no longer have to just utilize, the very expensive tools that exists. There's so many open source technology and software out there. Get your hands on them, practice, They're free. Get it, learn. And also take advantage of what Analytics is doing, you know, the 50% offers and everything on discounts. Please take advantage of that. And then lastly, I think as women, especially in the African context, I want to bring Africa into this, is I think we need to look at what is also, I think, opportunities within this continent. We need to leverage our cultural traditions like Stokvels in South Africa or Chamaya Mama, which is basically these you could call them and Susan, you can help me here. We talked about this the other day. It's basically it's basically when communities come together and they basically pool money together for a particular project, a particular thing, instead of using banks to save your money. So you're either investing in something, but you're doing it in the very African cultural way. And it started off particularly by women. So that is something I think we should continue to leverage. Let's not just look at the West, look at also what we can do within the African continent. So yeah, thanks, Elizabeth.
All right, thank you so much. So all the beautiful women on this call. So I have just one last question for us, just a very brief question, do you have any closing remarks? And this is a general question, to every single woman on the call, to Helen, to Dr. Chichi, to Esther, and also to Susan. So what is your advice, to women? Dr. Chichi has been dishing out nuggets all night. Esther, Susan, and Helen, I hope you were writing something down. So I hope you're able to leave this session with, 1 or 200 things, right? But what is your advice, very briefly, what is your advice to women? And if you have any closing remarks you'd like to share with us, please do. So I'll start with Helen. Closing remarks?
Oh, wow. Helen, I thought you were going to start from Dr. Chichi. CE, then maybe H before his. No worries. I think I won't say the usual one of believe in yourself. Yeah, you have to believe in yourself. You have to do the hard thing. I think from my 9 years of work experience in the cybersecurity space, I think one thing I would say is don't run away from uncomfortable things or uncomfortable situation. When you run away from it, then you just want to be in your comfort zone. I think at some point in my career, I try to shy away from things that makes me look uncomfortable, things I feel like if I do, this might make me feel stupid or, So I think just don't run away from uncomfortable things. If you think you want to do cybersecurity, do it. If you want to do data, do it. If you want to do, don't let anybody make you feel that, oh, data engineer, it's for the male and then do the data analyst part. Nah, don't do that. Don't make people feel that for cybersecurity, just go for GRC and you can't become a security engineer, a DevSecOps engineer, and architect. Please don't do that. I think I used to think so before, but I realized that it's just all shying away from let's leave the hard things for the guys and let's do the simple things. Then when do we want to, grow, or how do we want to encourage more women to do not the hard things, but the uncomfortable things, right? So please always get yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Helen. So, for people that are just joining the session, please do not forget to fill the attendance form, using the link that my colleagues are dropping in the chat box right now, because if you're just joining, you have missed a very interesting session with, our panelists, and even if you want to have a replay. So once you fill the attendance form, you would then be able to have access to this recording of this session to have a replay later on, as well as the slides that we are using, the slides I'm going to be walking us through in the next couple of minutes. Now, before I give, Dr. Chichi, Esther, and Susan the chance to also give their advice, I got a question from, one of the women on the call right now. And, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to direct this question to Susan, okay? So Susan, someone is asking, right, do you feel ageism is improving in tech? She says, this is a concern for me as I am transitioning from the healthcare scientific field after many years of experience. Also, please ask our esteemed panelists if they provide coaching and/or mentorship for women who are transitioning into tech or who are already in tech. Oh, this is a lot of questions, Rita. Are there any websites or resources you can share? So Rita, if you wait till the end of the session, I'll also be sharing something with you as well. But I'll just let Susan, talk about ageism and how it is improving in tech. So Susan, over to you.
Okay. That's a good question. And yeah, I do feel like ageism in tech is still a huge problem, but it's shifting in interesting ways. You see, the industry has long favored the young, hungry, and disruptive stereotypes, early 20s, fresh out of school, working insane hours. But the thing is, tech is maturing, and also so is the workforce. So we're seeing a lot of companies realize that experience matters, and the AI and data revolutions are not just about fresh ideas. They require wisdom, risk management. They require ethical oversight. So this is where we are seeing seasoned professionals in their 40s and 50s stepping into leadership, governance, and strategic roles. But that being said, bias still exists. Older professionals often get labeled as outdated or less adaptable, even when they bring deep industry knowledge. But on the flip side, we have younger professionals getting dismissed as inexperienced or struggling to get leadership opportunities. So I feel it's bias at both ends. And that being said, we need to normalize career longevity in tech, whether that means hiring mid career professionals for coding roles or putting young women in leadership without making them prove themselves for a decade fast. So, tech should be about skills and impact, not just age. That's my take.
All right, thank you so much for that, Susan. Rita, I hope you were able to, take one or two things from what Susan just said. So now we'll go ahead with the closing remarks. It's pretty late. I want everybody, right? I want everybody on the call to, drop an emoji just to appreciate Susan for being here with us today, because Susan is joining us from Kenya and it's pretty late where she is. So she had to, forgo sleep to be here in this session to speak to the women on this call today. So please put emojis, encouraging emojis in the chat. Thank you, Chibike. Thank you, Khadijat. Thank you, Damilola. So Susan, we really appreciate you. All right. So please go ahead with your closing remarks. And if you have any advice for women on this call as well.
Okay, so for my closing remark, it would be stand out and take action. So if there's one thing I hope you take away from today is stop waiting. Stop waiting to feel ready before you go for that leadership role. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your work before you own your wins. Stop waiting for permission to take up space in rooms where decisions are being made. Tech is moving really fast, and if you keep waiting, you'll be left behind. Not because you're not capable, but because you didn't put yourself forward. And there are so many times you've seen someone less qualified than you take an opportunity simply because they believed they could. It's a mindset thing. So my challenge to you is put yourself out there even when it's uncomfortable. If there's a project, a job, a speaking opportunity, take it. Go for it anyway. Do it afraid. Own your voice, whether you're in meetings, online, networking spaces, make sure people know what you bring to the table. Like Helen said, if you don't advocate for yourself, who will? And also pay it forward. The real power isn't just in getting ahead, it's also in making sure more women are at the table with you. So speak names in rooms where they're not present, share opportunities, mentor, etc., etc. And mostly importantly, I believe that we don't need just encouragement, we need action. So after this call, don't just feel inspired, go do something. Apply for that role, send that email, share that project on LinkedIn, do something, because at the end of the day, it's not about who deserves a seat at the table, it's about who claims it, and I hope that is you. That's it from me.
All right, thank you so much for that, Susan. So the next person is Dr. Chichi. Dr. Chichi, what is your advice to the women on the call today, the women listening to you, and what are your closing remarks as well?
I think I'm just going to echo what everyone has said, really. You have to do it right now. We understand that there are limitations, there's bias exists, but it doesn't have to define your career. It doesn't have to define you. The key is to recognize it, navigate it strategically, and push for change. And of course, not just for yourself, just like Susan said, but for the women coming after us, the women you're going to pull in. You belong in every room. Don't think, okay, cybersecurity is such a, no, it's not. Like, there are different paths you can enter. You need to study different places. Look at where your strength lies, because in your strength, you can find a path into the tech space. You could be a natural leader and say, okay, I want to learn leadership in tech. There's a space for you. You could be very technical and say, I want to start technical, but I want to start smaller. There's a space for you. So it's a wide space for you to delve into. And again, you have to do it now. I'm not a motivational speaker, and I don't want to be one. I want to be one that will tell you, okay, hey, this is what exists. And I'm trusting that you're going to take action to just move the needle, create that opportunity for yourself, and meet people, network with people, go to people, knock on their doors and say, hey, I need this. People are most likely going to answer. Really good people will, but rely on opportunities like with Tenalytics. I got that right? Tenalytics. Rely on the opportunities you have in the room and the networks you have. Seek mentorship, seek coaching, and then just move. Don't stay in one place. Just keep moving. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chichi. Keep moving. Okay. Esther, over to you. So, closing remarks, advice you have for our women on this call today.
Wow, I think going after all the ladies that have just spoken, they've really said really wise things. And I've also taken it in. So thank you, ladies. There's a saying by a lady called Betty Friedman from the 60s. She said, yes, you can have it all, but not at the same time. And that saying really resonates with me, especially the older I get, because we always have this vision when we're growing up that when we get to 30, you want to have achieved this. When you get to 40, you will achieve that. And everybody's journey is different. And I once had a boss who I used to wonder how she did it all. Like, she was a family person, a mother, she did sports, she she was great at work. And I used to wonder, how are you doing it? And she said, look, it means there's some things that she's not doing well at in her life. And also she said, support. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Surround yourself with people and the support that you need in order to get ahead. If you are a mother and you feel guilty about having a nanny or taking your kids to school, please, it's okay. So I think the other thing is also never stop learning, and be unapologetically yourself. I keep saying, as somebody who used to hire, is I do not want a clone of myself. I don't want somebody who's like me. I want somebody who's coming in, who's bringing in something that I do not have, perhaps filling a gap that I do not have. Because that's how you create a strong team. You bring in a team of people with different traits and personalities from different backgrounds or different skill sets to create a strong team, a high-performing team. So I always say, I do not want clones. I want individuals who come in unapologetically themselves. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies, for this wonderful, wonderful session. Now, we already thanked Susan, but Susan was not the only one who gave us 1 hour and 18 minutes of her time today. Helen did, Dr. Chichi did, and as well as Esther. So I want us to also, just show appreciation for them in the chat as well. So thank you so much. This was such a, a wonderful and insightful discussion. Thank you so much for joining us, and, cheers for now, ladies. All right. So now we have listened to Dr. Chichi, we have listened to Helen, we've listened to Esther, we've listened to Susan. They've shared, nuggets of knowledge. But now a lot of people on this call, I know the question that is going to be on our minds right now is, how do I start? I mean, Helena said, go for what you want. Dr. Chichi said, okay, don't wait. Or I think that was Susan, don't wait. you know, to be called to the table, right? Don't wait, stop waiting, put your best foot forward. But then how do you then start? How do you break into tech? So I'm going to be sharing my screen right now, while my colleague just, you know, unpins the ladies' screens. All right, fantastic. So remember that at the beginning of the session, I said, first off, we're going to have our question and answer session where we're going to listen to the powerful women in tech share their experiences, which we just did. Now, the next thing I'm going to be walking us through is how to get started immediately. Okay, what are the in-demand career paths that we have, you know, in 2025 that women and, you know, also men can get into, and some success stories, and finally, a very special offer that we have for you today. Okay, so here at 10 Analytics, we have a sponsor that has reached out to us to say they would like to empower women in tech this month. Okay, this is our month. So they're empowering women in tech, and they said, you know, slash your program by 50%, give a 50% discount, we'll cover the rest, just to make sure that more women are, you know, empowered, more women are trying to break these barriers, more women are trying to get into tech. So now 10 Analytics is giving 300 women and 50 men. 50 men. It's our month, but let's give the men as well. So 300 women and 50 men, you know, looking to get into tech, a 50% scholarship to learn any of our programs. And I'll also be walking us through the programs that we offer in a few minutes as well. All right, so ladies, we are accelerating action, okay? So now let me show you very briefly some success stories. Now, if you joined at the start of the session, you know, you saw a lot of testimonials playing, right? We have a lot of success stories. In fact, we can have a 3-hour session, right? Just dedicated to success stories, right? Now, remember once again to fill the attendance form so that you will have access to these slides that I'm showing you right now, and also the recording of the session. Now, on this slide, there are a lot of linked resources and linked videos to testimonials from real people such as yourself that have been able to break into tech with 0 prior experience, and you can watch them if you fill the attendance form. All right, so looking at what we have on my screen right now, you see a participant that reached out to a colleague of mine, Priscilla, here at 10 Analytics to say, hello, Priscilla, Happy New Year. This came in January, maybe January 4th, you know. He said, I am overwhelmed, but with good news, right? I have 3 job interviews. And most importantly, I have an interview with Sask Energy for HR data analyst role, one of the jobs you posted. Now, I will also shed some light on that, you know, in the coming slides as well. I need help preparing for this interview as I really want this particular job. She says that, you know, and later, you know, after some time, she got back to us again to say, I got the job. Okay, so these are real people. And if these people are doing it, you can do it as well. So like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of success stories. We also have, you know, people that, you know, companies have reached out to us to provide reference and recommendation letters for, you know, from MenCap, from, you know, Robert Half in the UK. Companies are reaching out to us to provide recommendation letters for these participants. And that is also one of the services that we offer here at 10 Analytics. All right, so I don't want to dwell too much on that because remember, you'll be getting the slides so you can also look at all of these testimonials on your own. Now let's look at the career paths that you should focus on when you're trying to break into the job market. What are the tech skills to learn and how do you get a job quickly? Now here at 10 Analytics, there's something we do at the end of every year, right? We scrape all the necessary job boards. We scrape all the job boards, the free boards, the paid boards. We scrape them for the jobs with the highest number of listings to see the jobs that are in demand. So for example, just off the top of my head, using a random number, don't quote me anywhere. Let's say we scraped job boards in 2024 and we found out that, you know, data analytics or data analysts, the roles for data analysts had about 25,000 listings in the UK alone in 2024. So what that signifies is that is an in-demand, you know, an in-demand skill or career path that, you know, people can also leverage and try to break into, right? So we scrape these job boards for all the, you know, all the roles that have the highest number of job listings. And then we carry out our own internal data analysis, and we analyze all of these jobs that we've gotten from these job boards now based on 3 different criteria, right? The first criterion is the ease of learning. So how easy is it to learn the skills that you need for this job, right? Can you learn it in 6 months? So for example, a very popular job that is also in demand right now that people are looking for actively in the US and the UK and also in Canada is robotics engineering. But, can you learn robotics engineering in 3 months? Can you learn how to be a robotics engineer in 6 months without prior, knowledge? It's really for people like us that we have been out of the classroom for quite a bit, right? So how easy is it to learn the skills that are necessary for this job that we have gotten from the job boards? Then the next criterion we look at is also the ease of transitioning, right? So how easy is it to transition now, not only to just get into this job, but to actually succeed at the job, right? How easy is it for you to pick up some skills that you have in your, I'm going to say in your past life, right? But some skills that you've picked up, just in your many years of life or living on earth, or in your previous work, right? Whatever sector or industry that you're coming from, how easy is it to pick some skills from there and transition into these roles? For example, someone who has been working as a teacher, right? Maybe you've been working as a teacher for so many years, for 8 years, for 5 years. Now you can excel, you can easily transition into a role as a business analyst or as an agile project manager. Why? Because while you were a teacher, you were liaising with stakeholders. Stakeholders in this case being your students, right? You were talking to the management of the school principal, headmaster, I don't know what they call them these days. And you were also talking to the parents of your students, maybe during PTA meetings, right? These are stakeholders in the school business, right? And that's the same thing you're going to be doing in tech, liaising with the different stakeholders in your organization. So if you have communication as one of your strong suits, you'll find it very easy to not just pivot or transition into a role like business analysis or agile project manager, but also to succeed in that role, to just settle in and not struggle and not, shake when you transition into that role. And then the final criterion that we look at is, let's face it, that's why a lot of us are here today, right? That's why a lot of us want to break into tech money. We've looked at tech money, we've heard of, tech money. Now, we look at high rewarding salaries. Do these jobs pay well, right? And after analyzing all of these jobs that we've gotten from these job boards, right, we then looked at and we got these 8 career paths. So these are the 8 programs that we offer: business analysis, agile project management and Scrum Master Professional, data analytics, data science, data engineering, cybersecurity analysis, financial analytics, and also HR analytics. But we did not stop there because, sometimes when you do things on your own, there's probably some sort of bias. When you cook for yourself, you feel, this food, it's sweet, except someone else tells you otherwise. So what we did was we took it a step further. We decided to seek, external validation. We went out there to look for reputable, forums, reputable organizations that have absolutely no affiliation with Tenalytics to see what are these people also saying. And that was how we found the World Economic Forum, okay? The World Economic Forum reports. And again, these resources are linked for you on the slide. So, and this is also something that is available on the web, right? Absolutely anybody, while you're on this call, you can just pick up your phone, go on Google and search for the World Economic Forum with the Future of Jobs report that was released in January 2025. And you will see exactly what I'm showing you on my screen right now. So the World Economic Forum says something very interesting. It says in the next 5 years, that is by 2030, right, 170 million jobs will be created while 92 million jobs will disappear. Okay, so if you look at the snapshot on my screen right now, you can see different boxes that are, color coded. You see the boxes in red, you see the boxes in blue, and then you see the boxes in green. Now the boxes in red are the boxes that are going to be destroyed from now, 2025 up until 2030, right? 92 million jobs will be destroyed. 92 million jobs will go out of style in the next 5 years. Then we see the jobs highlighted in blue. Those are stable jobs. Those are jobs that if you're currently working at, you have no problem. You're free, right? And then we see the green boxes. Those are jobs that, will be created. 170 million jobs will be created in the next 5 years. So if you're someone that is currently on the red spectrum, what you want to do is you want to try to get to the green, right? Because what that does for you is it ensures job stability. You know that you are not going anywhere for, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, you are still here with us, right? So now just double clicking on that, the World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs Report 2025, highlighted the fastest growing jobs. On my screen right now, you can see the big data specialists. And when we talk about the big data specialists, we're talking about the data engineers, right? You see AI and machine learning specialists, data analysts, and data scientists. You see data analysts and data scientists highlighted as, some of the fastest growing jobs in the next coming years. Now, we are very, very concerned here at Analytics with sustainability. We don't just want to teach courses that, by next year it's out of style and then you have to pick up another skill. We want you to, grab a skill right now that would ensure or guarantee you job stability in the next 5, in the next 8, in the next 10 years. Okay. We see more jobs like, the cybersecurity analysts, jobs like data engineering, like I mentioned earlier, data analysts and data scientists, cybersecurity analysts, business analysts. So we have the reports linked here. So once you get this slide, what you want to do is you want to click here to download the full report and also take a look at it for yourself. All right, we have data analysts, data engineer, agile project managers. You see, project managers was highlighted, but it's not just, the traditional project management now. Companies are moving away from traditional project management into agile project management, and that's where you want to be. All right, so agile project managers, business analysts, okay? And then, the beauty of all of this is that, when you actually take these courses, you're not just boxed into, for example, you take the data analytics course, you're not just boxed into working as a data analyst, right? And this is where a lot of people struggle, because then you say, oh, I took the data, I don't see a lot of job listings or job opportunities for me here in the US for data analytics, right? Now, I want us to understand that these organizations are, every day, I mean, this is 2025, right? Every day, these organizations are changing the nomenclature of their, their jobs, right? So as someone who finishes the data analytics program, you can work as a data analyst. You can look for jobs, as a business intelligence analyst. You can look for marketing analysis jobs. You can look for sales analysts, logistics analysts, supply chain analysts, procurement analysts, operations analysts, product analysts, database analysts, and so much more. And that also applies to all the other, all the other programs as well. As someone who concludes the data science program, you can work in all the roles. You can do every single thing a data analyst can do. And don't worry, I'll be double clicking on that in coming slides to also explain why and how that is. Data engineering, cybersecurity, business analysis, financial analytics, HR analytics, and also agile project management, okay? You can do all of these, jobs and so much more. So you don't have to just limit yourself to searching for, data analysts or, data scientists. Now, there has and there will continue to be talent shortage across the world, okay, all over the world. And this is to your advantage. What this also shows right here is, this is also gotten from the World Economic Forum report. And it just shows how, employers from different countries, from different regions have been complaining about talent availability in their regions. Okay, so when we look at Egypt, the first one, we look at Morocco, which is the second one, we look at Bahrain, we look at Saudi Arabia. What you can see here from this first 4 is that, they have enough talents, right? They have enough talents. They have enough people with the skills in their countries. But then when you look at, from number 5, you look at the UAE, look at Tunisia, you look at Greece, right? Downwards, you can see how the trend changes. You can see how this red line, just increases to show that all of these countries, even in Nigeria, right? There are talent shortages. And this is because a lot of us are running away. We're leaving the country. We've left our fatherland, or is it motherland now? And, we've gone in search of greener pastures. So what that is doing is that is creating a talent gap in the country as well. So it's something that you can also use to your advantage. All right. So just to make sure that, I've been speaking, we listen to our beautiful ladies, the panelists speak, just to make sure that people are still following me right now. I want to see you drop, just an emoji, drop a number in the chat, so I know that people are listening and people have not gone to bed. Okay. Okay, I see Afolabi. I see Basil. Thank you. Okay, I see Abigail. I see Alexandra. Wow, fantastic. So we have a lot of people on the call, that are still listening to me. So that is great. Now let's go on. Now here at Analytics, we have a 6-step strategy that can help you to land a job, in these regions, in the UK, in the US, in Canada, in Africa, in Asia as well. Right? We will help you land a job with this 6-step strategy that, we have constantly tested, excuse me, tested and trusted strategy. Now, what is that strategy? The first thing you want to do is you want to identify your desired tech career, okay? You want to identify and say, I want to go into business analysis. I think cybersecurity speaks to me. I think agile project management speaks to me. Identify your desired career path. For example, look at Victoria. Victoria is a customer service rep looking to become a data engineer. So she has identified her desired career path, right? Now here at Analytics, we use the hybrid structure, we use this hybrid approach for learning, right? We have our live instructor-led classes, right? Where you have a professional, such as myself, talking to you on the call. And in that case, you can actually unmute your mic and speak. You can raise up your hand if you have a question in class and speak to your facilitator, and that person responds to you. So it's not a one-way conversation. And then we also have what we call self-paced learning, because we are trying to balance it, right? We understand that a lot of us here, we have, other obligations, right? A lot of us have families, we have children that we're taking care of, we have to work as well. So we try to make it very flexible so that, you're not missing out on anything and we're still able to break into tech, right? So we have what we call self-paced learning. We have a learning management system where upon, registration for a course, you're added to that learning management system. And guess what? You have lifetime access to it. So you're going to be having pre-recorded videos, facilitators such as myself, sharing their screen, showing you how to use the different tools that, they're using in your particular program, using case studies. So you're not just learning the theoretical parts. You're not coming to see A's for Apple. You're not reading a textbook. We are learning how to actually apply it, hands-on, practical explanations, looking at case studies, and then you can also, on your own, replicate what you have watched in those videos, okay? Number 3 is to gain project-based experience. And this is where Analytics also comes in. Now you see that I linked a couple of portfolios on this slide. So once you get the slide, please do not forget to go through it because it's very rich in resources. We have a lot of resources linked here, so you can also take a look at it for yourself. Now, Analytics here, we also guide you on portfolio building, right? We help you to build your portfolio, guide you on how to build your portfolio using the projects that you work on in class. Okay, so we are providing you with case studies. Remember, even your self-paced, videos, you're looking at actual case studies that are being worked on. And these are real case studies because we are also in the consulting space. What we did was to redact some information so that we are not violating any data, protection laws. But these are real case studies. So you have that opportunity to also add that to your portfolio as some of the projects that you've worked on. Now, remember that your portfolio is like your showroom, right? That is how you can speak to a recruiter to say, hey, look, I've worked on 10 projects, this is my portfolio. I've worked on different projects from different industries and different sectors of the economy. And this is what I did here. This is what I did here. Okay. Now, number 4 is to gain employability skills. Technical skills are not alone. It's not enough to just say, I know how to use Power BI. I know SQL. That is not enough. What makes you stand out from the competition? Because a lot of people say, oh, I hear it. They speak to me, when I speak to my students, they say, Elizabeth, I hear that, the tech space is becoming very saturated right now. Right. So are you sure that if I even take this course, that I would even land a job? Right. So it's not enough to just know how to be that person, to know how to be a data engineer, know how to be a data analyst. But how do you stand out from the 1 million other data analysts, right? That is where your employability skills come in. And I'll also be explaining that in detail in coming slides. When we talk about employability skills, we're talking about reviewing your CV, being able to tailor your CV to the specific job that you're applying for, optimizing your LinkedIn, having mentorship. I think one of our wonderful panelists spoke about the power of networking, earlier, the power of having a mentor, right? But not just have a mentor, also put in the work. But having a mentor is important because these people can tell you mistakes that they made when they were starting out their career so that you can also learn from them. And then number 5, we have, like I mentioned, networking and mentorship. And finally, that is how you get the job. So this is a 6-step strategy that we will use to help you ensure that you get a job with global organizations. Now let's look at some success story. It always seems impossible until it is done. I think this was from Nelson Mandela, right? You've been listening to me, you just feel like, I'm just a teacher, or I've been a nurse or a midwife for the past 10 years. I mean, what she's saying sounds good, but is it possible? Right? So I'm here to put it to you that it is actually possible. We have a lot of people, right? In fact, our success rate is at 88%, meaning if we have 100 people that have taken our courses, our programs, 88 people out of those 100 people have gone on to land jobs. All right, so it is impossible. It will only seem impossible until you actually do it. You actually, stop waiting, just like Susan said. Put your best foot forward and stop waiting for that opportunity to fall in your lap. Now look at some success stories. They're all linked here. So once you get the slides, you can watch them, right? All of these individuals, they had no prior experience and they were able to transition into tech roles seamlessly from the classroom to the tech space, okay? So it doesn't just end in the classroom. It's not like you just learned or picked up a new skill and then it's adios, right? You're able to transition from the classroom into the job market, into a role, okay? So I'm just going to briefly run us through this. Let's look at Ikmat. Ikmat was a full-time stay-at-home mom, and she moved to the UK for her master's. Ikmat joined our data analytics training program. She secured a job as a data analyst with the NHS, which came with full visa sponsorship. As someone who had no prior experience in tech, okay, she was able to secure a job with the NHS. Matter of fact, the NHS are one of our biggest, employers right now. A lot of our students have, gone on from the classroom and gotten jobs at NHS, just different jobs depending on the program that they took with us. Let's also look at Ramat. Ramat was a customer success rep in the UK. She joined our business analysis training program and she secured a job as a business architect with the NHS, which came with full visa sponsorship. So if these people can do it, you can do it as well. You're not, you're not different, right? Finally, let's just look at Tony, who worked as a pharmacist while in Nigeria. And Tony joined our data analytics program and she got a job as a benefits analyst. This just goes back to when I was talking about not boxing yourself into just the role that you like data analyst, or I want to be a data analyst. There's so many other, career paths that you can also explore as well. So once you get the slide, make sure to check all of this. Like I said, we have a lot of success stories on this slide. You can also connect with these people on LinkedIn. So speak to them, hear it from the horse's mouth. How is their experience with analytics and how they went about, just securing a job with our help. All right, so now let's get to the crux of the matter, the skills that will help you to land a job in 2025. Now we're going to start with the business analysis pathway, okay? But before we start, I'm going to take a look at a little peek in the chat box right now to see. Now, how many of us here actually know, how many of us have identified the career path that we want to get into? How many of us have identified? Because remember, that is the first step in the 6-step strategy that we use to help you get a job. Datola says me. Please, can you put in the chat box, the career path that you want to go? I see data analysis. Who else? Business analysis, data analytics, okay, data science, business analysis, oh, we have a lot of data people on the call. I'm hurt. Okay, cybersecurity. Susan says cybersecurity, fantastic. All right. So now let's take a look at let's go over what the role of a business analyst is in an organization, right? And I'm going to also be explaining, all of these 8 career paths, so that you can have a clear understanding and you're able to make an informed decision on which of these, career paths you want to break into, where you want to start. So, when we're looking at soft landing into tech, if you're somebody that, you just want to land on a cushion, you don't want to code, you don't want to, do anything too technical, right? I always recommend 3 different career paths for people like that. The first is business analysis. The second is agile project management and Scrum Master Professional. And the third is data analytics. And I'll tell you why. So as a business analyst, who is a business analyst in an organization, right? The role of the business analyst is to come into an organization and optimize their current processes. So what that means is you're coming into that organization and you're looking around to look at how things currently work right now and how you can make it better for that organization and also for the customers that the organization serves. So let's use an analogy to buttress that point. So for people, from Nigeria, let's talk about the banking sector in Nigeria, back home in Nigeria, right? As at 2010, 2009, 2011, every single thing you wanted to do, right? If you wanted to send as little as 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira or receive 10,000 naira from, a relative that has sent you money, you have to go into the bank. You have to go into the bank and join a very long queue. Sometimes, people go into the bank and they have to go back home and come back the next day because they were not able to, complete what they went into the bank to do. So what was happening was that these banking halls were very full. Day in, day out, the banking halls are full. The cashiers at the counter, at the teller points are getting tired. Now, a business analyst went into this organization, and the organization in this case is the banking sector, and looked around and said, this is a flawed system. How can we make this process better? How can I, as the business analyst, make this process, more seamless and better? And that is why, as time went on, when you walk into the bank, you see a personnel standing right by the door that asks you, what do you want to do, right? So initially, you have to join a very long queue. And then when you get to the teller points, you pick up a form, go and fill the form, and come back to join the queue. But instead, what happened afterwards, after the business analyst came in, was that, you walk into the bank, you see a personnel that says, what do you want to do? Is it customer service? Go this way and fill this form. Is it Western Union? Go this way and fill this form. Do you want to make a deposit? Go this way and fill this form. So it cuts down, that process of actually queuing up first to fill a form, then coming back again to join the queue. And then as time went on, we got our mobile banking applications to be able to make transactions from the comfort of our home. So that is really just the role of a business analyst in an organization in a nutshell. You come into that organization, you look at the current processes, and you look for ways to optimize that process. Now, to do that as a business analyst, you need to know process mapping, right? Process mapping. And you'll be doing that learning tools like Lucidchart and Draw.io. So, just visualize the current process and also the optimized or to be process for that organization. But, we also noticed that global recruiters right now are not just looking for business analysts that are business analysts, okay? They also want a business analyst that has at least some basic understanding of data, right? When you see numbers, you can make sense of it. They want a business analyst who has at least just basic understanding, even if it's not too in-depth, but basic understanding. And what we did was we went into data analytics, the data analytics program, and we borrowed some courses from them, which is what you see here in number 1, Excel, Power BI, and SQL. Now, a lot of us here on this call, I'm sure if not all of us, we're familiar with Excel because we use it as a spreadsheet, but Excel is so much more than just a spreadsheet. With Excel, you can analyze data, you can clean data. Now, there are a lot of formulas and functions in Excel that a lot of people on this call do not learn. right? And that is where 10 analytics comes in. So with Excel and every other thing that we're teaching you in all of our programs, every single one of our programs are beginner friendly. So we're taking you as a blank canvas, okay? We take you as though, okay, you do not know anything. So we're going to start from the basics. So learning Excel, you'll even be learning what is a row, okay? What is a column? I know that is something a lot of us still struggle with. Which one is the horizontal one and which one is the vertical one? You'll be learning that. You're learning the formulas and the functions that we have in Excel, and then you advance to your pivot chart, your pivot table, and so on and so forth. Then you'll be learning Power BI, which is a visualization tool. So how are you able to visualize your data to make it look appealing in such a way that, maybe when you're preparing a report for, your stakeholders, they understand that's, the message you're trying to pass across. At a glance, they just see it could be a dashboard, using bar charts and different types of charts. They look at it and they understand the message you're trying to pass across. And also SQL, which is the language of data. SQL is what sets you apart from people that are not data centric, all right? Because you then know how to speak to your data. You know how to query your data. You know how to get insights from your data when you need to get insights from it. And then we did not stop there with business analysis. We now went into the Agile Project Management program and borrowed some courses from them as well, which is what we have in number 3 and number 4, project initiation planning. Because most times when you propose a new flow or a new process in an organization, sometimes it's a project that you then have to know how to initiate. So that is where project initiation planning comes in. We're going to learn how to initiate and plan a project, and also agile methodologies and Scrum for projects. So what are the agile methodologies? What is the Scrum framework? And how can you apply that to the projects that you have, just proposed to this organization? And then from number 5 to number 9, those are your core business analysis courses. Okay, software development lifecycle, requirements fundamentals, elicitation, stakeholder analysis and engagement, and finally, ChatGPT for business analysis. So you know how Dr. Chichi, yes, that was Dr. Chichi, she spoke about AI and saying that, that is, those are, that is one of the emerging trends that she wants, women, young women in general to focus on, right? So now we are also going to teach you how to leverage ChatGPT in whatever program, whatever career path that you find yourself in, these business analysis, data analytics, data science. You learn how to leverage ChatGPT and just AI in general to your advantage. So you don't have to always do the brain work. You can always just, there are cheat codes, there are shortcuts that you can use ChatGPT for, and we're going to teach you how to do that. So as a business analyst, the tools you'll be learning are Excel, SQL, Power BI, Lucid Charts, Draw.io, and then we move into the project management tools you'll be learning Jira Software, Confluent, Trello, and also Azure DevOps. So after completing this training, what it means for you is that, after completing this training, it's very possible that you can work in some roles, now not all the roles, but in some roles as a data analyst, because you already have basic understanding of the data tools. Then you can also work as an agile project manager because you already understand the agile methodology and how to apply the Scrum framework for projects, right? And also how to initiate and plan a project. Or you can choose to remain in business analysis, right? And work as a business analyst. So the business analysis pathway is very versatile, right? If you're someone that, you're interested in data, interested in numbers, right? Cleaning data, but you also want to speak. Because once again, the business analyst, as a business analyst, you're going to be in a lot of meetings. You are basically the bridge, the middleman, right, between the non-technical stakeholders, which are maybe your CEO, the team leads, head of HR, head of the finance team, XYZ, and also the technical stakeholders, being your developers, front-end engineers, back-end engineers, DevOps engineer, quality assurance testers, and also designers. You are at the middle. You're getting requirements from the non-technical stakeholders and you're translating it for the technical stakeholders. So for all of our classes, and this applies to all our programs, right? We have 2 live classes in a month. right? Out of 4 Saturdays in a month, 2 Saturdays you have a live class. So you have a live class this Saturday, and next Saturday you do not have a live class. And then the 3rd Saturday you have a live class, and on the 4th Saturday you don't have a live class. That is the way the structure is, okay, to encourage flexibility. And for those Saturday live classes, we have 2 sessions. We have the morning class and also the evening class. The morning class is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time. And this is ideal for people that are joining us from the Europe, people that are joining us from UK, and also people that are joining us from Africa. And then we have the evening classes from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. West African time, which is ideal for people that are joining us from Canada or using the mountain time. Okay. Now, aside the live classes, and one thing that I neglected to mention was that we are all adults. We encourage our students to make sure you come to class because, it's a live class. Yet there you can actually raise up your hand. You see your facilitator speaking to you, just like I am speaking to you right now. Raise up your hand and ask questions, right? It's very interactive. It's not one way. But if for any reason you miss the class, right? Maybe an emergency came up and you miss a class, you have the recording of that class to watch so that you can catch up on what actually happened in class while you were away. And even if you didn't miss the class, but you'd like to have a replay, these sessions, all of our sessions are recorded so that you can always come back to them. And then you have lifetime access to it. So in 2032, you can come back to that video to rewatch it. All right. And then we now have the self-paced learning using what we call Watch Me Do It videos. I spoke about that earlier on our LMS. Right, you have recorded videos that you can watch during the week. You're doing the dishes, you just plug in your earphones, you're listening, you're watching, listen to your facilitator, just walk you through how to use Excel, how to clean a data set, how to analyze a data set, how to query your data using SQL, how to visualize your data using Tableau, how to map out processes using draw.io, right? And you're able to now replicate all of those. And if for any reason, you're watching those videos and you have a question, what you want to do is you want to write down that question, because every single week we have what we call a drop-in session. Now, a drop-in session is also a live session just like this, but it's not a class. It's more like for troubleshooting. So for example, you have questions. There's something you don't understand. You can come to the drop-in session, and speak to your facilitator. You can even share your screen. I've been trying to do something on Power BI and, it's not working out. And you can share your screen and show your facilitator, and he or she provides guidance to you. And also the drop-in session is recorded as well. So that is how the learning structure is here at Analytics for all of our programs. And we currently have the learning timeline right now is 8 months, meaning you're going to spend 6 months learning in class and 2 months of internship with our partner company. So you're not going to be interning with us. We partnered with another company that is also in the consulting space. So you can, learn from them. You can have access to their projects, more, diverse projects from different, sectors, from different industry. And you have access to those projects. You can work on them and add them to your portfolio. So you're going to be spending 6 months in class with us here at Analytics and 2 months of internship with Amdari, which is a company that is registered in the UK. All right. Now let's move on to Agile Project Management. Now, this is my baby. All right. I'm an Agile Project Manager, so I'm always happy to speak about, Agile Project Management. Now, who is a project manager? Right. Now, an Agile Project Manager or a Scrum Master is more like we are facilitators. Okay. We are coaches for the team. We're making sure that our team works on the projects using the Agile methodology. So you're going to be in charge of a team, all right? You're going to be in charge of a team of developers, designers, testers, a diverse, cross-functional team. You're going to be in charge of them, but you're not going to be the one that is actually, writing the code, for example, or designing the layout for that website or that application. What you're going to be doing is to make sure that your team members are executing their tasks on time and following the Agile methodology, right? So you ensure that your team follows Agile rules, the Agile principles and values, and they work well together. And you also help them to solve any problems or blockers that may come up as the project goes on, just so the project can go smoothly, okay? So what are the things you need to know as an Agile project manager? First off, before I go into that, I also want to mention that as a project manager, you're going to be speaking a lot. You're going to be in a lot of meetings. So if you're someone that you're shy, oh, I don't want to. Adult project management, you might have to have a rethink. Business analysis, you might have to have a rethink because you are going to be stakeholder facing. You're going to always be in meetings because you're the bridge between the technical stakeholders and the non-technical stakeholders. So what do you need to know to become an agile project manager? Now, as I mentioned, with all our courses, taking you from the absolute beginning, so it's like beginners to professional, okay? So you'll be learning introduction to project management methodologies and structure. What are the different methodologies that we have in project management? And how are you able to identify different projects that you can apply what methodology to? So you say, oh, this mobile application project, for example, this is a methodology that would work best for it. This construction project, this is a methodology that will work best for it. And then you also be learning about the project structure, the project life cycle, and talking from initiation, how to initiate a project, how to plan a project, how to go about execution of that project, the monitoring and control phase to make sure that your project is healthy, your project is on track, and finally, project closure. Now, you also be learning project management skills and communication. What are some of the skills that you need to have as a project manager, and how can you tailor your communication to fit your various audience? For example, the way you'll be communicating to your CEO would be different from the way you communicate to maybe a team lead, for example, or your developer, right? And then you'll be learning the foundations of Agile and Scrum, the Agile methodology, okay? The Agile methodology and also the Scrum framework. Now, the different frameworks we have on that Agile methodology, and then you learn the two most popular ones that global organizations use, which is Scrum and Kanban. Those are two frameworks under the Agile methodology that you also be learning. So you understand the Scrum framework, the Scrum artifact. I'm talking about increments. When you hear people say we are working in sprints, the product backlog, the sprint backlog. You also be learning advanced Scrum and Agile practices, right? So how are you able to write user stories? Now you're getting requirements from your non-technical stakeholders. How are you able to break those requirements down for the designers or the developers to work on? You do that using user stories. So how are you able to write effective user stories, story pointing, work estimation? You're going to be learning all of that. And you learn end-to-end use of Jira and Confluence for projects. Now, Jira and Trello are tools that we use to track tasks, okay? This is how you'll be able to see, especially when you're managing a remote team. And I'm sure a lot of us want to work from home. This is how you'll be able to see, what task has been done, what task is still in progress, what we have in our backlog, what we are planning to do in the next sprint, all right? And Confluence, you use Confluence for documentation. So this is where you can have your project charter, your business case, your feasibility study, your budget, just have it there on Confluence so that everybody can have access to it when they need it. And then you'll be learning Kanban boards for workflow management, Agile metrics and reporting, how to check if your project is healthy, to know if you're behind schedule, if you're ahead of schedule, what is going wrong with your project. And we are doing that using metrics like velocity, metrics like burnout charts. How are you able to read these metrics, which is really just your data. This is our own data in project management, okay? And data never lies. So you see that report, how are you able to generate that report, read it and make an insight, just draw insights from that report, understand the steps that you need to take to improve that report. And also the different types of reporting for different types of stakeholders. The type of reporting that you give to a CEO will be different from the type of reporting that you give to a team lead. And then you'll be learning leadership and real-world application, the difference between management and leadership. And like I mentioned when I was speaking about business analysis, and this applies to all of our programs, right? So you're not just learning the theoretical aspects, you're also doing practicals, you're also working on projects, right? So you are hands-on. As you're learning all of these terms, you're seeing how to apply them in real time. So it's not like you're done with the course and then you're struggling, okay, to marry that theoretical or that textbook that you have read to what you need to do in the real world, all right? And then if you're someone that is also looking to upskill later, you're looking to take a professional certification examination, this course will also help you to prepare for your professional Scrum Master examination. So the tools you've been learning in the Agile Project Management and Scrum Master Professional pathway is Confluence, Jira, Trello, and also Draw.io, okay? you have to get into the program to find out how you will be learning draw.io. All right, and the learning structure is the same as, business analysis, as well as for all of our programs. So 2 live classes in a month, self-paced videos, and the timeline is 8 months. All right, so now let's move on to data engineering. Do I want to start here? I think I want to take it from the ground up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with data analysis. So remember when I started explaining these career pathways to us, I mentioned that, we have 3 soft landing into tech career pathways. The first was business analysis. Then we have agile projects management. And finally, we have data analytics. All right. Now, for data analytics, I say absolutely anyone can work as a data analyst, but not anyone can work as a business analyst or as an agile project manager. Why? Because not everybody likes to speak. So as a data analyst, your work is, you're analyzing data. You probably have to send in a report, but you don't have to be in as many meetings as an agile project manager or as a business analyst. Now, who is a data analyst and what is the role of a data analyst in an organization? A data analyst comes into an organization to answer 2 questions, right? He or she comes into that organization to help them to make sense of their data. And every single organization has data, right? Every single organization needs a data analyst to come in and, please, we're seeing a lot of numbers on our screen. Come into the organization and make sense of this for us so that we can make informed decisions. So I'll use another analogy as an example here. Say we have an organization, that made $1 million in revenue in the year 2024. So at the end of the year, when they were balancing their books and everything, they found out that they made $1 million. But they have a lot of questions, right? How did we make $1 million? Why did we not make more, right? So they don't understand what the data is saying. And that is where the data analyst comes in. Now you come into an organization as a data analyst to perform 2 types of analysis: descriptive analysis and then diagnostic analysis, meaning what happened and why did it happen. So now when the data analyst performs the first analysis, which is the descriptive analysis, he or she finds out, that this organization, we actually made $500,000 from the US markets. Then we made $200,000 from the UK markets. We made $100,000 from the Canadian markets. And then the rest of the revenue came from all over the globe. Okay. But still, that just gives birth to more questions. Now, what any self-respecting CEO would ask is, why did we make $500,000 from the UK markets, but we did not make $500,000 from the US markets, right? So now we already know what happened, but why did this happen? So the data analyst then goes on to perform the second type of analysis, which is the diagnostic analysis. And when that person is analyzing all of the data from the organization, you have to dig deep to find out what happened, why did this happen? He or she then finds out that it's directly tied to the marketing spend for these regions. So that means the money that we budgeted for marketing, for ads, for campaigns, for the US markets was high. And that's why we made $500,000 from them. The marketing spend for the UK market was significantly lower. And that's why we only made $200,000 from them, as well as the Canadian market as well. So now with this information, the organization is then able to make an informed decision to say, okay, so what that means is if we also want to make $500,000 from Canada in 2025, what we have to do is increase our marketing budget for that region. Now, that is what a data analyst does in an organization. And to do that, you'll be learning problem solving, the different techniques, that you can use to solve a problem, the root cause analysis, like 5 whys technique. You'll also be learning Excel, SQL, which is the language of data, Power BI and Tableau for data visualization. So you have spoken to your data, you understand what the data is saying, but now you want to prepare a report that you're going to send to your stakeholders, right? How do you visualize it? You visualize using tools like Power BI and Tableau. Then you're going to be learning data storytelling. How are you able to craft your data in such a way that it tells a story so that someone who has no, that is not technical, who has no data experience or no data background, they get that report and they understand what the message that you're trying to pass across. Okay. And then, like I mentioned earlier, because of the advent of AI, you'll be learning ChatGPT for analytics and also Microsoft Fabric for analytics as well. So the learning structure is the same. The timeline is the same also. Then let's move on to data science. Now, I like to call them the three data brothers, okay? The data analyst is the last born, meaning that's the easiest one to get into. Then the second born or the second son is the data scientist. And finally, the oga patapata of them all, the eldest brother is the data engineer. So now, who is a data scientist? A data scientist comes into an organization to answer 3 questions. Data analysts answer 2, right? Descriptive and diagnostic. But the data scientist would answer 3, descriptive, diagnostic, and predictive. So every single thing that the data analyst can do, his elder brother, which is the data scientist, can also do that, and then some more. Okay, so after finding out what happened and why did this happen, the data and scientist then takes it a step further to find out what will happen in the future using our data. What will happen in the next 5 years? What will happen in the next 4 years? And how does the data scientist do this? We do this by forecasting, using predictive analytics, using Microsoft Excel. So as a data scientist, you're going to be learning statistics, our main median mode. You'll be learning Tableau, SQL, but then now you are moving into the coding aspect of tech. So if you're someone that is not open to coding, data science is not for you. All right. So remember, it's a bit more complex, right, than data analysis or data analytics, pardon. So data science, you're learning Python programming, you're learning exploratory data analysis, you're learning machine learning, right? You're learning computer vision. You can see me right now. I have a 10 analytics backdrop right behind me. So now you don't know if I'm in a pub right now or I'm at the club. Or I'm at a beach right now. You cannot see my background. You cannot see whatever activity is happening, in the background. And that is because a data scientist has programmed this camera to only recognize the human sitting right in front of it. Okay, so that is computer vision. Then you learn GitHub version control, ChatGPT, and GitHub Copilot for coding, and Microsoft Fabrics for analytics. All right, now let's move to the eldest brother, the data engineer. Who is a data engineer? Now, the data engineering pathway is actually a little bit different from that of the data analyst and then the data scientist, right? What the data engineer does is, I liken data engineers to the plumbers, right? The plumbers of the data world. Just like you have your plumber come into your house and connect a lot of different pipelines from your storage tank so that, in your bathroom, you have water running. In your kitchen, you have running water. In your yard, you have running water. That's the exact same thing the data engineer does in the data space. Okay, make sure that there is actually data for the data analyst and the data scientist to analyze. Without the data engineer, data would be lost. All right, so the data engineer is in charge of connecting all of those pipelines to make sure that when the data analyst needs to analyze the particular data set, it is available to him. He can pull that data from the storage unit. When the data scientist needs to analyze a particular data set, he or she can also pull that from the storage unit. So what would you be learning? Introduction to data engineering from the ground up, okay? SQL, Python programming. Now, the data engineering pathway is heavy on coding, right? This is where you enter the coding proper. So if you're someone that's running from the technical side, data analytics is for you. You'll be learning Linux, you'll be learning how to build custom ETL pipelines. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So are you able to extract data, right, from one database and transform, clean, analyze that data and, load it into the desired, database or storage unit, so to speak, right? You'll be learning tools for automations, tools for doing all of these automations, the tool of the data engineer, which is Apache Spark, Apache Airflow, and then you'll be learning cloud engineering using GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and also Azure, version control, GitHub, and ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot. Then we have spoken about the 3, big data specialists, the 3 data brothers, right? Then we can move on to the next course, the financial analytics career path. Now, who is a financial analyst? The financial analyst is really just a data analyst that has now streamlined or niched down into financial data. So if you're someone that has accounting background, remember how we talked about the ease of transitioning. you're someone that has accounting background, and you're looking to still stay in that space, but you want to add tech to what you currently do as an accountant, financial analytics is for you. All right. So you'll be learning all of the, data tools, Excel, Power BI, SQL, also problem solving, but then you will now also learn accounting fundamentals, just to brush up on, what you already know, financial analysis, financial modeling, valuation, sensitivity and scenario analysis, and ChatGPT. Who is a financial analyst? What is the role of a financial analyst in an organization? The financial analyst really is just the person that helps the organization to make well-informed decisions regarding their money or their finances. So for example, when businesses are trying to merge, right? Maybe 10 Analytics is trying to merge with our current partner, Amdari. We're trying to merge. There's I think it's called M&A, merging and acquisition, right? We'll need a financial analyst to tell us, to look at our finances, to make projections, to tell us if this is a good investment or not. Okay, so you need a financial analyst, even right in Nigeria, Access Bank has currently acquired Diamond Bank, right? So sometimes when you want to make a transaction, you see Access in brackets, Diamond Bank. Now, before that acquisition took place, it didn't just happen. Access Bank did not just wake up one day and say, I'm craving another bank. Let's acquire Diamond Bank. Boom, 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 done. What they had to do was they needed a financial analyst to also look at the finances, look at the projections to make sure and say, I'm sorry, but this is a bad investment. If we get this, if we, go ahead with this acquisition, we'll be running at a loss, or this is a good investment. I recommend that we go into this, and, in the next 5 years, we'll be back in our, in our green book, right? And out of the red. So that is what the financial analyst does. A data analyst who is now streamlined into financial data. Now, as a financial analyst, you can also work as a data analyst, okay? Because you are, learning the data tools, and you can work as a financial analyst. Then we move on to the next, which is the HR analyst. Now, the HR analyst, similar to the financial analyst, is really just, someone, a data analyst, and has now streamlined or niched down into analyzing only people data. So now I'm just coming back to the chat box just to make sure I still have my people here. I still have people listening to me. So if you're listening to me, if you're still listening to me, drop, a thumbs up or something in the chat box. I see Elohor, I see Fidalchi, okay, I see 2 people listening to me. Ephraim is also listening to me. So look, we're fantastic. Thank you so much for that. All right. So like I said, HR analyst, someone who has a data analyst who are now niched down into human resources data, people data. So you're working as the human resources manager in your organization, but you're also able to leverage tech, right? Leverage tech into that to see how you can analyze data, to carry out your appraisals, to carry out your exit interviews, and so on and so forth. So you'll be learning the data tools, then you also be learning HR analytics and performance evaluation. When to, how to carry out performance evaluation, and when, HR metrics and life cycle, HR analysis and dashboarding, collaboration and report automation, building your case and creating action, and also ChatGPT for analytics. So if you're someone who is currently, an HR professional looking to upskill, or someone who has, interest in HR, this would be a wonderful career pathway for you. The learning structure and also the timeline stays the same. And finally, last but not the least, we have the cybersecurity analyst. Helen, I think Helen was, she is a cybersecurity analyst, a renowned person in the cybersecurity space. Okay, now who is a cybersecurity analyst? Just like the name, connotes, right? We hear cybersecurity. Think of them as your digital security guard, right? So the job of a cybersecurity analyst is to protect the computer systems, protect the networks, and also the data of an organization from external hackers, from viruses or, other online threats. So a cybersecurity analyst would monitor, for suspicious activities, try to fix vulnerabilities, and also respond to cyber attacks to keep information of that organization safe and secure. So think of them as your security guard or your protectors of the digital world. Now, in cybersecurity, we have 3 different teams, right? We have the red team, the blue team, and the purple team. So when we talk about the red team, think of them as the attackers, okay? The hackers, people that hack, but, ethical hacking, all right? So the job of the people in the red team is to simulate cyber attacks on a company's system to find weaknesses. And they will act like real hackers to test how strong the defenses of that organization is. An example of someone in the red team in the cybersecurity space is a pen tester, a penetration tester. So what happens is when organizations, especially organizations that deal with money, right? Organization, maybe fintech organizations, when they build their application, their websites, their web application, mobile application, what they do is they then go out there and look for a penetration tester and tell the person, please, we built this system. We want you to try to hack into our system and tell us if it is easy to hack into or if there are some vulnerabilities, if there are some things that we need to close up, right? So now that penetration tester simulates a hacking, sort of like how, a bad hacker will try to hack your system. That person will simulate it and now point out areas that they need to tighten up. Okay, tighten up your defenses, change the way the password is structured, things like that, so that the organization can defend themselves from bad hackers, okay? And then we have the blue team. The blue team, see them as the defenders, right? Now, their own job is to protect the systems of that organization, to detect attacks, and to respond to threats. And their own focus is on strengthening security of that organization. Example of people in the blue team, you have your SOC analysts, okay? And then we have the purple team, which is what we focus on here at Analytics. And the purple team is really just the generalists, a mixture of the red and the blue. So after taking this program, you can then decide, and say, I want to join the red team. I want to be a penetration tester, or I want to join the blue team. I want to be a SOC analyst, and so much more, okay? So you are taught every single thing you need to know about cybersecurity. Also, if you're a lawyer, someone with, a background in law and you're interested in compliance, you can easily fit into GRC analysts in the cybersecurity space, okay? Governance, risk, and compliance analysts. So the GRC analysts are sort of like the lawyers in the cybersecurity space. So it's very easy, once again, to transition from what you're currently doing into a career path like this. So what are the things that are necessary to become a cybersecurity analyst? You'll be learning overview of cybersecurity roles and technologies, information security principles and risk management, introduction to network security, threats and vulnerabilities. You'll be learning your SOC roles and responsibilities, threat detection and response, incident response and threat intelligence lifecycle, open source intelligence gathering, malware analysis, and threat actor profiling, right? Introduction to penetration testing, like I mentioned earlier, vulnerability scanning, and so much more, exploitation techniques, and the tools you'll be learning, Wireshark, VMware, Metasploit, Bob Suite, Splunk, Zap, WebCheck, Kali, and so much more. Now, the learning structure and also the timeline is the same. All right, so now just going off of everything that I've shared with us now, for people that did not already make or identify the career path that they wanted to go into before, have you been able to make a decision now from the 8 career paths that we offer? Just give me a thumbs up, just put something in the chat box. Okay, so Olaoluwa says 100%. All right. Fantastic. Alexandra gives me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Now let us move on. We have talked about the different career paths, right? Now, I mentioned earlier, you will have the unique opportunity to include Analytics and Amdari, our partner company, on your CV. Okay, so we encourage our participants not to say that they trained with Analytics, but to say that they consulted with Analytics and also with Amdari. So we are your previous employers, when you're looking to land a new job, and we can provide recommendation letters for you. All right, Analytics registered in Canada, Amdari registered in the UK. Now, there's something we call the job offer equation here at Analytics, and it's really just T plus E, right? Technical skills plus employability skills. Now, all of those things I've been talking about, Bob Suite, Kali, Microsoft Excel, SQL, and all of that good stuff. Those are your technical skills. But then remember, when I was talking about our 6-step strategy, I spoke about the employability skills. And this is how you stand out from the competition in the job market. All right, so what are the employability skills? We offer CV review and revamp sessions. We'll review your CV, we'll help you to revamp your CV. And then we don't just give people fishes, we don't just give men or women, in this case, fishes. We teach you how to fish, okay? So we're also going to teach you how to tailor your CV to multiple job roles, right? Because a lot of people, the mistake a lot of people make is that we use one CV, just one CV, to apply to different, 1 million, job listings. But what you want to do is you want to tailor your CV to the unique requirements of that role, because that would help you to pass the ATS, that's the applicant tracking system, to make sure that your CV even gets to the desk of an actual human being that is going to review it. Okay, now the next employability skill that we offer is your LinkedIn optimization. How are you able to position yourself strategically, right? So that these global recruiters, right, global organizations will reach out to you on LinkedIn to strike up a conversation with you. Lots of times when recruiters want to hire, before they put out the job listing, they try to fill up that position themselves. And what do? They carry out something we call the Boolean search on LinkedIn. So they search for the role HR analyst in, Canada, for example, business analyst in Manchester, right? They search for those, the job and the location that they're looking for. And they see a lot of profiles that pop up, right? And then they're able to go into these profiles, right? So then look at, if they like what they see, they reach out to you to have a conversation with you. So this way, you're not just the only person applying to jobs. Recruiters are also reaching out to you to strike up a conversation. Now, the next skill is navigating the job market, where we bring mentors, we bring people that are already in that space to, come back, right? Come back to the classroom and give you tips on how you can navigate the job market, mistakes that they made that you do not have to make. Then the next is the interview preparatory session. So if you get an interview, right? You get an interview, you get invited for an interview. We are also able to book a one-on-one session with a professional such as myself to have an interview simulation with you, to prepare you, give you tips and boost your confidence for your interview. Then we offer job reference and recommendation letters. Like I mentioned earlier, you're able to list us as your previous employer. And that way, when these organizations reach out to us to provide a recommendation letter to say, oh, Rita said, she consulted with you as a data analyst. Can you vouch for her? We can say, yes, Rita is a professional. Rita, we can vouch for your integrity and also the fact that you are who you say you are. Now, the sixth is on-the-job support. All right. So this is not a very popular service because after people spend 8 months with us, most times they don't need on-the-job support. But should you need it, just in case, it is available to you. All right. You are able to have on-the-job support for 1 month after you get a job in case you come across any task that is, what's the word now? That is challenging. You can come back to, book a session with someone, a professional, to provide guidance. So we're not going to do the task for you, but we're going to tell you how to go about it, right? And 7, we have weekly mentorship sessions. Every week, you have mentorship sessions teaching you how to answer interview questions correctly using frameworks like the SIT and STAR approach. And finally, last but not the least, Upwork optimization sessions. So the same thing we do on LinkedIn, we also do for you on Upwork. Now, if you remember earlier, there was a participant that shared a testimonial to say, oh, I got a job and it was one of the jobs that she posted. So what we do is every week we scrape premium job boards that we paid for so you don't have to pay for them. All right. Job boards that you don't have access to because you have to subscribe monthly to those job boards. We subscribe to them and we go there and we scrape different jobs, job openings and links with sponsorship and different regions and send them to you, for you to also apply to them. So in as much as you're searching for, jobs to apply to, we are also sending you jobs for you to apply. And we also have, a personalized learning AI assistant, what we call, on our learning management system that can help you with your interview prep, or also help you to run, your code if you have any issues with your code. All right, so more success stories, people that have been thriving after training with Analytics. All right, there are a lot of them. Like I said, we cannot go over every single one of them, right? So once you get do well to fill the attendance form, and once you get the slide, you can also go over these, sorry about that. You can also take a look at, these testimonials as well. There are lots of them. We have Lois, an accountant with 0 experience in tech. And after taking our business analysis program, she was able to secure a job as a project manager in the UK. All right, we have Ngozi, we have Oluwadamilare, and so much more. A lot of people. All right, so I'm just going to take a look at the chat box right now to see if there are questions. But before we do that, right, let's go right into how you can go about, just securing your spot with the 50%, discounts that we're currently offering, the 50% scholarship that we're offering to 300 women and, 50 men, all right? So we are also accredited by the American Council of Training and Development. So, and this is globally recognized. So after training with us, you get a globally recognized certification, all right? So what are you going to start today? What are the next steps? How can you start? You want to join our next cohort happening on the 5th of April, 2025, which is next month. And how do you want to go about this? Remember, we have a 50% discount currently running, right? So our initial pricing for the programs is $900, but it's currently discounted at $450, and this applies to all of our programs. So when you get the slide, you want to click on this link right here. Or I also have my colleague, share it with you on your group chats, the various group chats that you're in. So once you click on this link, it takes you directly to our enrollment center, okay? The Analytics Enrollment Center. And what you want to do is you want to scroll down and, click on secure your International Women's Day discounted slot. All right, so once you click on this, it opens up this new page for you. And then we have a currency selector here. So you are able to pay in your local currency if you're joining us from the UK, if you're joining us from Canada. So if you are joining from Canada, it would already automatically just show CAD card here. If you're joining from the UK, it will show pounds, okay? And what that means is it helps you to convert the USD pricing to your local currency. So you don't have to worry about trying to convert money, right? And then you see a payment structure. So if you want to make a one-off payment, one-time payment, if you want to break your payment into 2 installments or into 3 installments, you are able to do that. All right, you're able to break your payments for as many times as necessary. And say, for the sake of this presentation, we select 3 monthly installments. We click on secure your spot. What is going to show you is that you have £123.33 due today. You have £123 due exactly 1 month from now, and you have £123 due exactly 2 months from now. All right. So once you click on proceed, you'll be asked to put in your card details and fill a form. And once you make payments, what you want to do is you want to take a screenshot of that payment and come back to the main page here and upload your receipt. It's very, very important that you upload your receipt so that we are able to track that payment. And once you do this, a rep from Analytics will reach out to you immediately. All right, so I see that we are way over time. We are 33 minutes over time. So I want to thank everyone that has been listening to me, just speak on and on for almost 3 hours now. You've given me 3 hours of your time. So I would not be able to take too many questions because, Marshall says, why is it only for 50 minutes? It's Women's Month. I'm sorry, but it's Women's Month. We just wanted to add, 50 men to that. So please try to secure your slot as soon as possible because this discount is not time-based, it is slot-based. So meaning if we get Oh, sorry, I had a little glitch there, a little technical glitch. So I had to just quickly restart and join on my other device. Please confirm that you can hear me clearly. Sophia, can you hear me clearly? All right, thank you. So for my women and also for my men here, please try to make sure that you utilize this discount as quickly as possible. Like I was saying before, my device went off. It is not time-based, it is slot-based, okay? So try to utilize and join our next cohort starting on the 5th of April, okay? So let us keep accelerating action. Thank you so much for listening, and bye for now. Until next time.